Education will come to order. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Chair Richardson.
Present.
Ranking Member Troy. Here. Representative Baldridge.
Here.
Representative Callanan. Here. Representative Sweeney. Here.
We have a quorum present. I'd like to give Representative Sweeney just a moment to make a few comments.
Thank you, Chairwoman. I just wanted to take this time to explain my absence for the past week. I actually had a few people asking why I was so uncharacteristically quiet. I was out for the past week due to contracting the coronavirus. I am back, and I did just want to publicly thank my committee members. It is a small committee, and when one member is not there, but I, rest assured, was watching from home. I think no one is happier than Representative Callender, who I would not stop bothering the entire week of my absence. So I thank you all, and to everyone at home, I am here working, was working the whole time, and I appreciate everyone's work on this important committee.
Thank you, Representative Sweeney, and welcome back. We're glad to have you. We have a quorum present. The meetings from the previous meeting are on your iPads. Please review the minutes. Are there any objections to the minutes? Without objection, the minutes from the previous meeting are approved. The first order of business is an informal hearing on House Bill 110. The bill creates the operating budget for fiscal year 2022 and fiscal year 2023. I would like to call on our first witness to come forward to testify, Dr. Lou Maynus, the superintendent of the Ohio State School for the Blind and Ohio School for the Deaf. She will be offering testimony on behalf of both the School for the Blind and the School for the Deaf.
Thank you, Chair Richardson. Is it appropriate for me to be able to remove my mask?
Absolutely, as you're comfortable.
Thank you. Chair Richardson and members of the House of Representatives Finance Subcommittee on Primary and Secondary Education, thank you for the opportunity to speak with you regarding the Ohio State School for the Blind and Ohio School for the Deaf budget provision sections of House Bill 110, fiscal year 2022-2023 biennium budget. My name is Lou Maynus. This is my third year as superintendent for the schools. Our residential school for the deaf has been in operation since 1829, serving deaf and hard of hearing students, as well as those with additional disabilities. Currently, we have 130 students on campus located on Morse Road, north of downtown Columbus, with 29 students working remotely. Our students travel from all across Ohio, representing 134 school districts in 44 counties. Established in 1837, our residential blind school is known for being the first public school for the blind in the United States. It's located adjacent to the deaf school. We currently serve 100 visually impaired students that are visually impaired and blind on campus, with 30 students working remotely. Our students travel from across Ohio and represent 112 districts in 52 counties. Our mission at the blind school is to provide an individualized roadmap that develops the whole student. Our mission at the deaf school is to use a language-rich environment to empower each student to become a contributing member of society. Ultimately, we want our students to learn, thrive, and become productive members and citizens. We have statewide services that provide specialized information, technical support, resources, and comprehensive student evaluations to inform individualized education programs for school districts and families across the state. As part of that, we serve 150 infants and toddlers ages 0 to 3 through visually impaired early intervention programs benefiting 180 local education agencies. Governor DeWine's budget recommendation are much appreciated, and rather than reading through each of those, I'm going to go ahead and skip down to something that's very important for us, and that's showing our appreciation, accepting our sincere appreciation for the last biennium appropriation that allowed us to implement a plan for the integration of technology for students in alignment with Governor DeWine's culture of innovation. We had no idea at that time 2 years ago that we were about to enter the COVID-19 pandemic area. Literally, moments before the pandemic hit, hours before the statewide school closure took effect, our teachers, school staff, and students were well equipped with accessible technology for remote learning. Our staff and students engaged with technology at high levels and became skilled very quickly, much faster than would have occurred otherwise due to the remote learning. This access to technology was critical, and what you did for us was a game changer. This access to technology provided our students with not only rich learning experiences in the virtual classroom, but also gave students a level of independence they had not experienced. Engagement with parents across the state is now at higher levels than ever with our purchased technology. A second area of success has been our work around social-emotional learning and interventions for students. The pandemic has caused an even greater need for services. For example, we were able to provide MiFis and mobile food distribution through a time when we needed to serve the whole child. So looking ahead, with the provisions of House Bill 110, we first intend to employ a data manager to work collaboratively with staff to identify and capture various data sources and outcomes, including student success, outreach services, and complex operations. Our data manager will provide and develop strategies for monitoring long-term system integration, and we will leverage the state Innovate Ohio platform. This position will allow the schools to fully optimize data analysis, and this will certainly inform my reports to you in the future. Preparing our students for success beyond high school is absolutely important and critical. Our employment rates across the nation run from 37 to 40% for our deaf and 25 to 30% for blind. This is absolutely unacceptable. Pre-employment transition services are key. We intend to hire an educator who is specialized in training around career education for our middle schools. Finally, we intend to hire an educator who has specialized training in deaf-blindness. We continue to see students who are deaf-blind. They have dual sensory needs beyond that of a deaf child or a blind child. Currently, we have 28 students with those specific needs. These recommendations that are included in the governor's budget will allow our schools to make stronger data-driven decisions and improve services to students. Please know you have an invitation to visit our campus for a tour, to visit our facilities and observe student learning. If you come, you will see emerging state-of-the-art digital environment. You will see what I like to call the bookends, a preschool with up-to-date, innovative curriculum and passionate teachers and students engaged in relevant and individualized teaching and learning. You can visit our EDGE or 4+ program that supports post-high school students in job training, interview skills, self-advocacy for the workplace. You'll certainly want to visit students learning Braille, reading their creative writing, or students learning American Sign Language in ways such as self-recording stories. You can watch students creating newsletters, doing equations with creative supports provided by the mathematics teachers. You might observe students practicing their athletic skills in the evening, yes, using our COVID safety procedures. Our blind students will impress you with their swimming, track, and goal ball maneuvers. You might see our nationally recognized deaf soccer team practicing. Supported by youth leaders, you will see students learning to prepare evening meals and taking care of their needs in the dorm. If you visit on Coffee Shop Thursday, our Deaf Plus students will serve you a cup of coffee, or the Blind School Panthers Den coffee shop might be a good choice. You could meet the current State Ohio Teacher of the Year at our deaf school, or last year's District Teacher of the Year at our blind school, Anthony Coy Gonzalez, the Teacher of the Year, and Sil Pirano, District Teacher of the Year last year. Thank you for your time and your work to serve. I'm available to answer your questions.
Thank you for your testimony and all you do for our students here in the state of Ohio. Are there any questions of the witness? Representative Troy.
Madam Chair, thank you, Superintendent. So I assume from your testimony that you are happy with the governor's proposal in the budget. You're not asking for any add-ons nor reductions, of course, in that. So you're satisfied with what has been recommended by the executive branch.
Chair Richardson, Representative Troy, yes, the recommendations we are pleased with. Thank you.
Okay, Madam Chair, one further question. So you talked about, the ability, I guess, is the school the front line of placement services for your students when they're done, or is there some other entity you send them to for placement services? Do you do that yourself? And how successful have the placement services been in terms of getting your students into gainful employment and productive members of society?
So we are very pleased that we work closely with OOD and the folks there with that agency. We have VRC counselors that work with our students as well. And so through that transition, we work with those entities. We also work with vendors, outside vendors, and our children go and work in those different areas and building those community partnerships.
And Madam Chair, one final question. And how the transition from your school to higher education opportunities, how's that taking place right now?
In high school, our students are able to engage in the College Credit Plus. We're connected with the community colleges as well as OSU and other colleges. And then that transition period, we absolutely have staff who work with students.
Representative Sweeney.
Thank you, Chairwoman, and thank you, Superintendent, for coming before us and all the work that you do for our children. I just have two quick questions, and the first is, I'm just curious with, in both schools, you say that they come from, like, in the deaf school from 134 school districts, in the deaf school, 112. So how are these students getting to your school? I know some aren't driving age, some might not be able to have that capability, and I'm just not overly familiar, so if you can just explain that to me, and is that an issue of, do families have to move to Columbus, and just that kind of hurdle for those students?
Chair Richardson, Representative Sweeney. Our children, it really depends on with parents and the home district. Many of our students are day students, so they come in the morning, go home in the evening, just like a traditional school. There are students who come from outside where the travel's just too far, so they come in on Sunday evenings and they go home in a traditional school year on Friday evenings. For this, during pandemic, they're going home on Thursday evenings. And that's because of our teachers are not only teaching students on campus, but they are teaching remotely simultaneously. And that Friday morning allows our teachers the opportunity to plan for both. And so we're in a hybrid model, but it's a good, strong model.
Follow-up, Chairwoman.
Proceed.
Do we provide transportation to those students or reimbursement for them getting to your school?
The home districts provide the transportation. We do have transportation through the week when they're going to different places, like to job placements and things like that, but the home districts bring the students there and pick them up.
And one follow-up, Chairwoman.
Proceed.
Thank you so much for that. And my last question, just going off of Representative Troy's, I know you had mentioned you not being, satisfied with the employment rate numbers of your students, obviously understanding the rules. And can you just explain a little bit more about the hurdles, and is it not having enough places for these students to go? Is it changing the curriculum? What are the ways that we're going to continue to address? And just speaking about the issues we currently have that you can attribute those numbers to.
Chair Richardson, Representative Sweeney, when it comes to a student who is deaf or a student who is blind, there's often the hesitation for employers. How will I be able to gainfully work with this person? So those self-advocacy skills that our students need to be able to convince an employer, I do have the skills you need, and I have ways that we can communicate. There are ways for me to be able to, with certain structures and supports, that not only will I be a really good employee, but possibly better than most, because I'm not going to miss work. My appreciation for my job is going to be often so much higher. There are many reasons that I would put one of our students against a traditional.
Are there any other questions of the witness? I just wanted to tell you, just to share with you, I knew nothing about goalball. But this year, my son, who watched it on the Olympics, actually initiated a club at his public high school. And he's become extremely sensitive to the needs, the special needs of those who are blind in particular, by playing that game. So I just wanted to share that with you. And I think it's important that all of us become more and more aware of the challenges that you are tackling in educating the special needs of our children. So thank you for all that you do.
Thank you.
And thank you for coming in today.
Thank you so much.
I would like to call up our next witness, Mr. Rand.